All right, let's dive right into this explainer of Emmanuel Levinas's groundbreaking 1961 philosophical masterpiece, Totality and Infinity. Now, if you ever felt like philosophy is just, dry, dusty old books that have absolutely nothing to do with real life, well, prepare to have your mind completely changed. We're going to explore some incredibly profound ideas that speak directly to how we live today, how we interact with our phones, and most importantly, how we treat the actual human beings right in front of us. So, we are kicking things off by asking a really simple but honestly kind of impossible question. Can you ever truly cross the boundary into someone else's head to know exactly what they're experiencing? Think about your absolute closest friend, or, just a total stranger you sit across from on the train. You might know their favorite songs, you might recognize their voice, but you can never actually experience the universe from their exact point of view. To you, they are a complete mystery. It's this invisible boundary that we literally just cannot cross. Okay, let's jump into part 1, main character syndrome. To really grasp this, we have to look at where Levinas was coming from. He was a French Jewish philosopher who actually lived through World War II. He survived a military prisoner of war camp, but tragically, almost his entire family was murdered in the Holocaust. And when the dust finally settled, he didn't just ask the standard political questions. He asked this devastatingly deep question: how are highly educated, supposedly civilized people able to view millions of other human beings as just clutter? He realized that Western philosophy had basically trained us to view the world in a really dangerous way. He illustrates this big idea by comparing what he calls totality with infinity. Think of totality kind of like playing an open-world video game, like Grand Theft Auto. You're the main character, right? And every other character is just an NPC, a non-player character who's only there to give you a quest or just get out of your way. Everything revolves around you. But infinity, that is the completely unpredictable shock of a real, actual human logging onto your server. They don't follow your script at all. They have an entire inner universe completely separate from yours. And Levinas warned that when we treat the real world as a totality, when we just reduce real people to predictable labels, we are paving the exact road that leads to horrific violence. Which brings us right to part 2, building your comfort bubble. So, the crucial thing to understand here is that we construct our own identity in 2 basic steps. Levinas calls the first step enjoyment. We don't just exist, we live from the world. We eat a perfectly warm slice of pizza, we soak up the sunshine, we listen to our favorite playlist. We're literally taking things from the outside and making them part of us. Then comes step 2, which he calls the dwelling. Eventually, you get totally exhausted by the outside world, right? You need a home base. And this isn't just a literal house, it's your psychological ego cave. It's that safe space where you can lock the door, completely drop your guard, and just be yourself without worrying about anyone else. Inside this space, everything belongs to what Levinas calls the same. It's your comfortable, predictable bubble. And honestly, it feels amazing. But there's a huge catch here. If you stayed inside this cozy bubble of the same forever, you'd be perfectly safe, for sure. But you'd be entirely alone. You'd just be existing in this completely closed loop. That is, of course, until something shatters that loop. Part 3, encountering the face. Now, when Levinas talks about the face, he's not talking about someone's literal cheekbones or their nose. Actually, you could stare right at someone's physical face and still treat them like a total object, like just another target demographic. For Levinas, the face is their undeniable, highly vulnerable presence. It is that exact moment you realize the person standing in front of you is a real, breathing human being and not just a text bubble on a screen. It's noticing their hands shaking slightly or hearing that tiny little crack in their voice. When you truly look at another person's vulnerable face, Levinas says it issues an absolute, silent, ethical command. And that command is, "Thou shalt not kill." And he doesn't just mean literally ending their life. He means do not destroy them with your harsh judgments. Do not ignore them. Do not erase their unique differences just to squeeze them into some neat little stereotype that's convenient for you. The face is completely exposed and defenseless, and that very vulnerability is exactly what demands your ultimate respect. This stunning realization leads us to part 4, ethics before everything. For thousands of years, traditional philosophy was totally obsessed with ontology. Basically, figuring out what the universe is and how we can comprehend it. But Levinas drops a massive philosophical mic here. He argues that before you can even sit down to ponder the mysteries of the universe, you're already standing face to face with another person. meaning your responsibility to them isn't some secondary afterthought. It has to come absolutely first. Ethics is first philosophy. The question, how do I treat you, has to come way before, what is the world? This incredibly intense quote from Dostoevsky really anchors Levinas's concept of what he calls asymmetry. Look, usually we think of ethics like a business transaction, right? Hey, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. But Levinas says true ethics is entirely asymmetrical. It's not a transaction at all. You don't wait for the other person to be nice to you first. You owe them your kindness unconditionally. Levinas even goes as far as to say you are essentially a hostage to the needs of the other person. That is how seriously he takes this. So how do we actually put this massive responsibility into practice? Well, Levinas splits language into two ideas. First, there's the said. This is just the literal facts. Imagine texting a grieving friend with a logical list of reasons why things will get better. It's factual, but it's cold. On the flip side, we have the saying. This is the vulnerable act of just being present. It's opening your mouth, offering the literal warmth of your voice, and making yourself available to someone in pain. It's sitting next to them in silence and just letting them know, hey, I am here. Now, you might be asking why we'd ever leave our comfy bubble to do all this heavy ethical work. That's part 5, need versus true desire. Levinas makes a brilliant distinction here that I absolutely love. A need is really just an empty gas tank. When you're starving, you eat a pizza, you consume it, the lack is filled, and the need disappears. It's fundamentally selfish, which, is totally fine for basic survival. But metaphysical desire, that is entirely different. It's not trying to fill an empty tank, it's this infinite longing to just be in awe of another person without ever trying to consume them or control them. It's like stargazing. You don't look up and want to eat the stars, you just marvel at them. And the longer you look, the more your wonder actually grows. This profound idea totally changes how we look at our deepest relationships. We always hear that romantic cliche that love is about finding your other half, right? Two becoming one. Levinas completely disagrees. He says if two become one, well, someone just got swallowed up. True love is about respecting that your partner will always be this delightful, infinite mystery that you can never fully grasp. And when it comes to having kids, what he calls fecundity, it's not about making little mini-me clones of yourself. It's actually how we break out of our mortal lifespan to connect with a future human timeline that we'll never personally get to see. All right, let's bring all this theory right into the present day. Part 6, beating the algorithm. Think about it. Every single time you open social media, an algorithm is actively stripping away your infinity. It reduces you to a highly predictable set of behaviors, tracking your clicks and watch times, just to keep you trapped in a digital echo chamber of the same. And the real tragedy? We start doing this to each other. We glance at a profile, we apply some harsh label based on a 15-second video, and we instantly strip away that person's infinite depth. We completely totalize them. But the good news is we can actively rebel against this. By choosing infinity, we defeat those algorithmic echo chambers. We just have to remind ourselves that the person behind the screen is infinitely more complex than their bio suggests. We can choose to build friendships based on real desire, rather than just transactional networking favors. And when massive, paralyzing global crises make us feel helpless, we don't actually have to save the whole world all at once. We can start right where we are, just by looking out for the struggling person right in front of us. Real change starts with one ethical response to one single face. To make all this stick, here's a quick cheat sheet summarizing the dense terms we've been throwing around. Think of it as a translation guide mapping heavy academic jargon directly onto your everyday life. Totality is just treating life like a video game with NPCs. Enjoyment is happily basking in that warm pizza. The face is that sudden, striking vulnerability that silently commands you to care. It's a genuinely fantastic mental toolkit to keep in your back pocket to help reframe how you navigate your daily interactions. So let's wrap up with a really vivid scenario. Picture this. You are chilling in your room. You're dwelling. You're blasting your favorite music, completely safe and cozy in your comfortable bubble of the same. Suddenly, a tired, stressed-out acquaintance knocks on your door. In that exact fraction of a second, you are doing first philosophy. You have a massive choice to make. Do you just turn up the volume, pretend nobody's home, and hide in totality, or do you unlock the door, step outside of yourself, and offer your presence to help them? Let's be real, it is a terrifying choice. Why? Because actually opening that door means admitting that you are no longer the absolute center of the universe. It means taking on real, unscripted responsibility for someone else's burden. But I want to leave you with this final thought. If we truly want to beat the algorithms, and if we want to avoid the dark history of a totalized, uncaring world, isn't unlocking that door the absolute only choice that makes us fully human?
Please like and subscribe.